If a parent is dragging a kid thousands of miles across the border, what they are doing is child endangerment. Children die, they're raped, they're murdered, they're taken hostage, they suffer dehydration, they get diseases. It's horrific. It's a massive humanitarian crisis. And encouraging people to do that with their children, I think that's horrible. And I think this is creating the biggest humanitarian crisis imaginable.
I actually think this is a bigger problem for the left beyond just Nancy Pelosi and AOC. Socialism is a trend that we're seeing become more and more popular, particularly among young Americans. My colleague at the Daily Signal actually recently attended a socialism conference where they're not talking about democratic socialism, they're talking about real full-fledged Marxist socialism.
Well, firstly, I think that we're going to see certainly once Brexit is implemented, a large-scale US-UK free trade agreement between the world's largest and fifth largest economies. As President Trump says, Britain will be at the front of the line for a trade deal. Famously, of course, Barack Obama warned that Britain would be at the back of the queue for a trade agreement if the British people dared vote for Brexit. Well, the British people did vote for Brexit, and now Britain is at the front of the queue for a free trade deal.
But the reality is everybody on that stage wants to spend more money. And that's whether we're talking about health care, where we're talking about free tuition for college. I mean, you name the program, everybody on that stage, to a certain degree, wants to spend more money. And as you just talked about in your previous segment, at some point you have to ask the question, who's going to pay the bills?
Well, yeah, I mean, the US troop presence in countries like Afghanistan is absolutely vital in maintaining security. The US has to ensure that its counter-terrorism objectives can be met. And we need to remember, it's always tempting, and I understand the temptation, after 18 years or so of fighting, to bring the troops home from Afghanistan. But they serve an absolutely vital role.
And there's actually a new fascinating poll out from Heritage Action, which found that illegal immigration is among the top concern for Americans right now. And I think that's because we're seeing how far the left is moving on this issue, not just open borders, but now providing them taxpayer-funded health care when many Americans are struggling to cover their own health care for their families.